Good morning, everyone. My name is Marcin Bella, and this is my Piano for Everyone, an online course on the fundamentals of a healthy, enjoyable, and sustainable practice of playing the piano. Today is chapter 5, and it's gonna kind of pick up where chapter 2 left off. If you've already watched chapter 2, you know that it was about being creative with the piano, which I think is a huge part of playing the instrument. Really any instrument, but piano in particular, because it is just so easy and enjoyable to be creative on the piano. And I feel like we all need that time when we're not working towards a goal, when we're not learning a piece, when we're not aspiring to something, but rather just really listening to the sounds it makes and enjoying them and inventing new combinations of them. Because, although, all notes of the piano have been used before, so in that way there is nothing original that you can do, the combination of notes are infinite, and that's why there keeps being new music, and that new music could be yours. So in chapter 2, I showed you the concept of voice leading, which is playing multiple notes at the same time. I would recommend 3 at least, and pretending that these 3 notes are actually 3 separate voices, 3 separate lines. Imagine that they are, say, like 3 singers, or maybe 2 violins and a viola, or any instruments you want to imagine, and that while you change one at a time, what really happens is that one of those changes a note while the others stay the same. Maybe these 2 can move, and you just get to listen to the sounds, and when you change them, it's like something happens in the story. So you create this story in sound. So that was chapter 2. Please watch that if you're interested in that. I would say chapter 2 and also this one are primarily geared on the professional level, towards songwriters or aspiring songwriters, and also people who make beats on the computers, productions, because this chapter is gonna take you from that free flow creativity of just listening to the sounds and the combinations that you like, and actually taking them into a finished composition. That is what a lot of people have a lot of trouble with. I would say all of my creative private students, either show up just for that reason, or at some point confess that they have a lot of ideas. They have a lot of little chunks of music that they really like, and they have no idea what to do with them. This is the art of development. It's one thing to come up with something cool. That's kind of easy. Developing into something that's structured, something that makes sense, and something that you can call a finished composition is a whole nother story. Not hard, but but you kind of have to take certain steps in order to go in that direction, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So in the spirit of what I described in chapter 2, I'm going to kind of poke around with some sounds. Remember, whenever you play something, play it a few times to really hear what it is. Really try to quiet your mind, get into the meditative space, and really listen to what is the consequence of one of the notes changing. What does it do? What story does it tell? And then at some point, you're gonna notice something that you really like. So let's see. So what do I like today? Say I like this one. Then I'm gonna change the bottom note. maybe I'm gonna change 2 notes at the same time. So I like that. Okay, so I like going from this chord. That's a good beginning, kind of unsettling, kind of angsty. Then this was an uplift, and then here it kind of settles down. So I like that. And remember, a section in your song, especially if you're trying to write songs, it really doesn't take much. A lot of songs just have 1 chord these days. If they're kind of like hip hop or EDM based, 2 chords is plenty. 3 chords is really a lot. So this right there, this could be your song. Going from here. It may be, it may be Bon Iver's "Skinny Love." This one, but maybe not. It doesn't matter. If it is, then it's that and 1,000 more. So depending on what you sing on top of that, it could be yours. So at this point, I'm going to decide how long each of those chords is gonna take. So I'm thinking, go to this one quickly, and maybe settle on this one for longer. So that sounds good. So I'm gonna have 4 counts of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That feels really good. I have a round number of measures. I could play it over and over. The melodies are already starting to come to my head, and yours too, probably, if you're a singer, songwriter. So that sounds good. Now we can explore the concept of texture. See, the wonderful thing about the piano is that we could play the chords blocked like I just did, just repeating them over and over. But we can also play them 1 note at a time, and they will still add up to that impression of harmony. So I could do this. It's not hard to do, even if you have 0 experience playing the piano, you can do this. That sounds pretty appealing. So now I'm just going from bottom to top. There's also this texture that's very ancient, dates back to the 1700s in Europe. That's called Alberti bass, where you go bottom, middle, top, middle. And it allows you to go in even numbers of beats, even if you have only 3 notes to work with. You can also do it with 1 hand, which is nice, if you eventually want to add a melody in the right hand. So that sounds pretty nice too. And then there's compound combinations, right? What you can do is you can sustain the bottom note and alternate between the middle and top. That actually sounds really good to me right now. Maybe a little faster. Again, not a hard thing to do. So I think I'm satisfied with this chord progression. It's starting to feel like that's what I'm deciding to do. And remember, that's what composition is. At first, we explore. The first part of creativity is exploration. You touch the piano, you listen to the sounds, you decide what you like. Then, there's probably going to be options. There's kind of like, this one could have been longer, this one could have been shorter, maybe this, maybe this. But at some point, what takes you from a free improviser to a composer or a songwriter is that at some point you make a decision that that's how it's going to go. And that's really important. Once you make that decision, once you decide that your song for today goes this way, and it sounds good on the loop, right? You can do it again. then I would recommend making some kind of record of it. So you can either write down the notes, right? You can write down E, A, C, followed by F, A, C, followed by E, G, C. Make some kind of documentation of how long, so maybe over the first chord you can write 4 for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 counts over the second chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 counts over the last chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can at this point invent your own notation. If you watch chapter 3 about reading music, you can attempt actual staff notation of it. I would highly recommend that. Or you can whip out your phone, make a quick video of yourself playing it, and then you will have it. The reason for it is that at some point you're gonna think about something else. Like you're gonna go make tea, or create a different part of your composition, and then you're really gonna dive into that. You don't want to forget what you have. So it's just either write it down or make a video on your phone or an audio recording. It just doesn't matter. Just make sure you have it. Like if you decided that that's how it goes, harness it somehow, capture it. Now, although there really could be a song that just goes like this, and it could be completely legitimate. Maybe if you're tired of it sounding just like this, you can move it to a different part of the keyboard. But chances are, at some point you will want your song to change. So what I recommend doing is playing on a loop for a little bit, and then listening for when you may want that change to occur. Usually in typical songs, something repeats a nice regular even number of times, either 2 times or 4, maybe 8. So as you go, listen in particular for these junction points. Okay, so I've done it twice. Do I want to do it a 3rd time, or do I want something else? Or I've done it 4 times. Do I want to play the 5th time, and probably 8 at this point, or do I want it to change? So I'm going to play, maybe hum along some kind of melody, and then listen for when I may be getting a little bit bored of this particular music and want to create an alternate section. So let's see. And at this point, I think I want something different. So let's call it part A. You can just write yourself a little chart. This is what I call A. And let's think of part B. What could it be that the song changes to, that provides a little bit of a shake-up, a little bit of a relief from monotony, if any of that developed, and yet is related to it. This is the crucial step. Most people who study either production or songwriting or composition with me just never develop that second part. Especially beat makers. Sometimes are really great at creating this one loop that goes, and then eventually it gets boring. But somehow don't think of, okay, let's create something that goes with it. So I think the main secret to creating part B that goes with part A is to make sure that something about it is different, but also something about it is similar, because we want the different parts of the composition to be related but different, and reversely we want them to be different but not unrelated. So I think the first thing that I want to do is change something. So let's see. Let's take it back to the drawing board. This was my skeleton. I had this sonority here, then this one, then this one. So on the same premise, I'm gonna move something. Don't know about that. So back where I was. How about this? The top goes down, smooth change, right? Like that was the kind of change that dictated the changes before. So, and it provides like a really cool, refreshing change. There is sadness to it, you know. There's emotion. I think I'm gonna go with that. So let's see. That was my part A, and now I'm gonna go to part B. Alright, so that's not bad. And now it needs to keep going somehow. So I'm going to try to go to my second chord from the first part. See how that will sound. So what I did is I had a new one, then back to the second one I had before, and then to the first chord. That's a possibility. Or I can go to the last one. Let's see. Or I could combine them. I think that may be the direction. So let's see. So new chord, and then one of the old ones, the last one of the old ones, the first one of the old ones, and the last. So this time I'm doing them at equal increments of time. 4 counts for each. 4 counts, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And I like it. And see, you know, my part B is really different. You know, it really is different music. This was part A. And this is part B. So it is different, but it uses a lot of the same components. It has a solid overlap. You know, first of all, the texture is the same, right? I'm alternating the top 2 notes and holding the bottom. Then I'm actually reusing the chords from the first part, but in a different order. And there's one new chord that really provides a refreshing change. That's what you want, you know. If you're working on part B of your song, like you're happy with the first one, you're working on something else, make sure that they really have something in common, that they belong to the same composition. It's very important. If you are a beat maker, if you make your music in GarageBand or Ableton or Logic or what have you, and you know, are exploring the possibility of what can your second section be, start by dragging some of the elements of your first beat over, you know, but like just some of them, maybe just the drums, maybe just one of the synth lines, maybe just the bass line, and then do something else on top of it. That is the quickest and the most sure bet way of coming up with a development of your composition that works with the first part and yet provides a change. So now that I have my part B, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with part A. I'm going to either record it or write it down, just so it doesn't escape me. make sure that it works on the loop, make sure I can repeat it and it sounds good. And then, and at this point, you may have your song, because two alternating parts is often what a pop song is, right? Like I'm sure you've heard of verses and choruses. Well, the verse could be your part A and the chorus could be your part B. Now, it doesn't have to be it. A lot of songs have more than two sections. They have 3 or 4 sections. But always start small. Always ask yourself, is that all I need? Because it may be less is more a lot of times in music. So my next step is going to be playing the actual flow of the song so far. So I'm going to play my part A 4 times as I decided. That's what I need to change. And then I'm going to play part B probably at least twice, maybe 3 or 4. And then when I'm ready for a change out of part B, I'm going to try to play part A again. See if it sounds good looping back around and repeating from the beginning. Okay, so getting in the zone here. Right now I played it 3 times and I just felt like the 4th time would be too much. So change of plans. I think a good thing to happen right now would be to slightly alter part B for that last part, just to kind of wrap it up. So let's see, so part B was this. And maybe I'm gonna do something really different. I'm gonna have my bottom go down. And maybe go to the first chord. So just really change. Sometimes a phrase just needs like one more twist to really complete the cycle. And I'm not saying that this is something that you should try. I'm just kind of demonstrating my creative process as it's unfolding at the time. So I'm gonna go straight to part B, include that little twist at the end, go back to part A, and I bet that will work. So that's the original part B. Third time coming up. Twist at the end. And now we're ready for the part A to return. And it feels like a return home after a long journey. So at this point, I don't know how long that is, but I bet part A was 20 to 30 seconds. I bet part B, I know it was the same length. So I almost have a minute of music. It wraps back around, which means I can do that whole thing again. That's 2 minutes of music. You are really starting to look at a solid skeleton of a song. Maybe you will need a little part C. A lot of pop songs have a so-called bridge, where after 2 cycles of music, you have like another burst of refreshing material just to change it up a little bit, or maybe not. But what you definitely have right now is sort of like an insight on how structuring of music works. And again, it's very simple, it's very enjoyable. You need something that you like. You need to see if that could sustain your whole composition, or does it get boring after a while. If it does, then you need another little part, and again, milk it. Like, see how long you can do it without it needing any change. Then you see if it. Then you check if it wraps back around, and you're usually good to go by this point. Now, of course, something like that is it could actually be a legitimate standalone composition if you are in the sort of, relaxing ambient piano music market. It can definitely be an accompaniment for a vocal song. And if you are a singer, aspiring songwriter, then I'm sure something like that will immediately start yielding melodies in your head to go along with it. Another thing to do, if you're starting to get, or if you've already been pretty good at playing, like really playing the piano and having good independence ability in your hands, then you could take that whole skeleton just into the left hand, maybe put it lower, and start exploring some right hand melodies on top of that. If you are just sticking to the white keys, as I'm encouraging you to do in the beginning, then remember, any white key, at least theoretically, could go on top of that left hand. And remember, as you explore what to play in the right hand, apply the same principle I proposed in chapter 2, which is to give everything a chance. Even if your initial reaction to the note you press is not of the most harmonious sort. Say like you're playing this chord and you press this key. Don't stop playing. Don't have this. Oh, it's wrong. There's nothing wrong in your song. Give every sound a chance. A little bit of bite, a little bit of spice is really necessary. Like you don't want your compositions to be bland. So if you hit a note that seems a little dissonant with what you're playing, then first of all, this really could be cool. This could be the tension that your music needs. Second of all, the note to the right and the note to the left will provide relief. So say like you're in this chord, you hit this one, the note to the right will sound great. And more importantly, the resolution from that dissonance to the harmony will sound even better. Same thing with the other way around. That's a really great melody right there. We need conflict to truly enjoy the resolve. We need a cloudy day to really enjoy the sunshine. We need salt and spice in our food. Don't just look for notes that really agree with all the others that you're doing. So, I hope some of you are gonna turn this off and write maybe your first song, or maybe your first song like that. Please let me know if you would like me to elaborate on any portion of this. I would really love it if some of you would send me something that you wrote based on these lectures. That would be really satisfying and could start a whole nother conversation. I'm gonna have just one more chapter of this particular series. The last one that I'm going to record and broadcast next week. The chapter 6 is gonna be kind of like kind of like a recap of the introduction, in restating the really deep psychological and spiritual principles of how I teach music. I'm gonna go over my 3 E's: the ease, enjoyment, and encouragement, which is what makes my practice successful, for myself, and my practice as a teacher successful, and it is gonna make your practice of playing the piano successful. If you always make sure that things are easy, enjoyable, and are encouraging, tell yourself that you will be able to do it for a long time, and you will be able to do it successfully. So please watch that. That's airing next Monday, and then this particular series is over. I obviously have a lot more to say. I'm weighing my options. I can either extend it or start a new one and come back to it later. But please let me know how things are going. I'm available for individual help. Again, my name is Marcin Bella. This is Piano for Everyone, and I'll see you next week.